the invisible battlefield where souls are forged in silence. There are wars that no one talks about, not because they aren't real, but because they happen in the most hidden corners of our lives, the kind of wars that are silent and invisible to the eyes, yet louder than thunder in the soul. These are not wars with armies or weapons. These are the wars that break and build the chosen ones, those of us who are called, not by man, but by something eternal, something ancient, something beyond. If you've ever felt like you don't belong here, like you're not just surviving but awakening, then you already know. Deep down, you felt it. You're not just living a life, you're fighting for your soul. I want to take you on a journey, not just a story, but into the depths of what we all silently fight when we walk the path of truth, awareness, and spiritual awakening. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. These silent spiritual wars are real, they're brutal, and every chosen one must face them. No exceptions. But within each war lies a gift, a code, a transformation that, once embraced, unlocks a level of wisdom and peace that most can't even imagine. I will share with you these 7 wars, not as a list, but as lived truth. And I want to ask you, are you willing to look into your soul and face what you've been running from? Because only when we face it do we transcend it.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
The first war is perhaps the most misunderstood, and it begins before you even know you're in it. It's the war of identity. The world gives you a name, a role, expectations, labels, but none of them are truly you. From the moment we arrive in this realm, we are told who we are, what to believe, what to chase. We're given masks and expected to wear them proudly, even if they suffocate us. But somewhere along the way, the chosen one realizes that all these masks are lies. Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like you were staring at a stranger? That feeling is not madness, it's awakening. The first silent war is the battle between the false self and the true self. And it's silent because no one can fight it for you. No one sees it. They only see you smiling, pretending, fitting in, but inside, you're screaming for freedom. In this war, you start questioning everything. Who am I really? Am I this job, this body, this reputation, this past? Or am I something far deeper, something infinite? This war is terrifying because it's the death of illusion, and death, even spiritual death, feels like being torn apart. Your ego will resist. It will scream, bargain, and distract. You'll feel lost, empty, isolated. But here's the truth, that emptiness is not a void. It's a space, a sacred space where the real you can be born. But only if you have the courage to let go of who you were told to be. I had to face this war too. It nearly broke me. But once you surrender to it, you begin to feel a peace that is unshakable because it's no longer built on lies. The second war is more subtle, yet it never ends. It's the war of silence vs. noise. The world is noisy, not just in sound but in energy, distractions, opinions, fears, desires. They bombard you constantly. The chosen one starts to feel suffocated, not just by external noise, but by the inner chaos it creates. You try to meditate and your mind races. You seek stillness, but your soul is restless. Why? Because silence is not just absence of sound, it is the presence of truth. And in truth is uncomfortable. In this war, You are fighting for the right to be still, to listen, not to the world, but to your own soul. Can you sit in silence without going insane? Can you be alone with your thoughts without numbing them? Most can't. That's why the world runs toward entertainment, consumption, distraction. But the chosen one realizes that true power, true clarity, comes from mastering silence. This war requires you to face every thought, every fear, every unhealed wound that silence brings up. It is like standing naked in front of the universe, with no shield, no pretense. But it is in that rawness that you finally hear the whispers of your soul. Silence becomes your greatest weapon, your sanctuary, your compass. And once you taste its power, you begin to seek silence, because in silence you remember who you are. Now the third war, this is where things get heavy. This is the war of attachment vs. freedom. Everything in this world is impermanent: people, possessions, even your own body. Yet we cling, we hold on. We fear loss more than death itself. Why? Because attachments give us a sense of control, of identity. But the chosen one must walk the path of detachment. Not because we don't love, but because we understand that nothing truly belongs to us. Love without attachment is pure, but love with attachment becomes control. This war is about letting go not just of things, but of expectations, of outcomes, of ego-driven desires. Ask yourself, what are you afraid to lose? Is it a person? A dream? A belief? That fear, that's your chain. The more you fear loss, the more imprisoned you are. The chosen one must walk through the fire of loss to realize that freedom isn't in holding on, it's in letting go. This doesn't mean we stop caring. It means we care without owning. That is true freedom. In this war, you will cry. You will grieve. You will feel like you're dying again. But every time you let go, you rise higher, lighter, closer to your soul. And you begin to understand nothing real can be lost. The fourth war is perhaps the darkest. It is the war of light vs. shadow. We all have a shadow, the parts of ourselves we hide, deny, reject. The anger, the envy, the fear, the shame. Most people suppress it, pretend it doesn't exist. But the chosen one knows that true power comes not from suppression, but from integration. This war is brutal because you have to face everything you hate about yourself. You have to look into the mirror of your soul and not flinch. The shadow will whisper, seduce, manipulate. It will project onto others, blame, judge. But the truth is, what you reject in others is often what you reject in yourself. Have you ever hated someone so much it consumed you? That hatred is a mirror. It's showing you what you need to heal. This war is about owning your darkness, not acting it out, but understanding it. When you integrate your shadow, you become whole. You become unstoppable, because nothing within you is hidden. Nothing controls you from the dark. Light doesn't destroy darkness, it embraces it, transforms it. The chosen one must walk into their own shadow, not with fear, but with compassion. Because within your shadow lies your greatest gifts: courage, resilience, authenticity. And when you make peace with your shadow, you become free. The fifth war is a war we fight every single day. It is the war of truth vs. illusion. The world runs on illusion. Media, politics, religion, even relationships, they often present a version of reality that's distorted, manipulated, convenient. The chosen one sees through the veil. We begin to question everything we were taught, everything we believed. And it's terrifying, because truth is not comfortable. It challenges, it confronts, it demands change. This war requires you to become a seeker not of comfort, but of truth, at any cost. Are you willing to lose your old life for the sake of truth? Are you willing to be misunderstood, judged, even abandoned, just to stay aligned with what is real? This war is lonely because most people prefer illusion. But the chosen one cannot rest in illusion. We are driven to seek truth in all things, in ourselves, in others, in the world. And truth, once found, cannot be ignored. It becomes a fire that burns away the lies, the masks, the pretense. This war gives you clarity, but at a cost. You lose comfort, but gain vision. And with vision comes power. Power to change not just your life, but the lives of others. There comes a point in every chosen one's journey where the battles become less about survival and more about ascension. At first, we fight to wake up, to free ourselves from the illusion, to break the chains of the false world. But eventually, we begin to realize that these wars are not meant to destroy us, they are meant to forge us. Like fire refining gold, every spiritual war strips away what is not real, until what remains is something divine, untouchable, eternal. The final spiritual wars are not just the hardest, they are the most sacred. Because in them we no longer fight against life, we fight to merge with it, to align with the very source of all things. This is where you become a living master, not because you have control, but because you have surrendered. Not because you are perfect, but because you are whole. The Ascension fire burns everything you thought you needed until you realize you already are everything. Let's go deeper. There is a war that few ever recognize, but it devours them quietly every single day. It is the war of purpose vs. emptiness. As you awaken, as you let go of your false identity, silence the noise, release your attachments, integrate your shadow, and face the truth, you are left with a haunting question. Why am I here? What is the point of this existence, this pain, this beauty, this fleeting life? The chosen one does not find peace in distractions or comfort in conformity. We are driven by something deeper, a sense that we were sent here for a reason. And that reason is not to simply survive, accumulate, or obey. It is to serve, to create, to awaken others. But before purpose becomes clear, we must fight the crushing emptiness that comes from not knowing. This is the desert of the soul. You may feel lost, abandoned by the very source that awakened you. Doubt creeps in. Was all of this real? Is there even a purpose, or is it all chaos, meaningless? This spiritual void is brutal because it's silent. There's no signpost, no voice from the sky, just emptiness. But here is the truth. Purpose is not found, it is remembered. You already know why you are here. It's encoded in your soul. But to access it, you must die to everything you think you are. You must surrender to the void. In this war, the battle is trust. Can you trust the journey even when you can't see the destination? Can you walk in darkness and still believe there is light? The chosen one learns that purpose is not a job, a title, or a role. It's a state of being. It's the fire within you that refuses to die, the love that compels you to serve, the truth that moves you to speak, even when it's uncomfortable. Purpose is a force, and once you align with it, life changes. Synchronicities increase. Doors open. Energy flows. You're no longer forcing, striving, chasing. You become the purpose. Your life becomes a living offering. But to get there, you must fight through the emptiness, through the fear that none of it matters. And when you come out the other side, you realize it all matters. You matter. Your life is not random. It is sacred. Now we arrive at the most profound war of all, the war of control vs. surrender. This is the final gate, the last veil. It is here that many falter, because this war demands everything. Every plan, every belief, every ounce of control you think you have over your life, it all must be laid down. You must let go of the illusion that you are in control, because the truth is, you are not. And that's not a weakness, it's a liberation. This war is not about becoming powerless. It's about aligning with true power, the kind that doesn't force, but flows. The kind that doesn't dominate, but creates. Surrender is terrifying because it feels like death. And in a way it is. It's the death of the ego, the end of my way, my plan, my will. The chosen one must step into the unknown, into the hands of the divine, without guarantees, without safety nets. This surrender is not passive. It's the most active choice you can make to trust the universe, the source, God, whatever name you give it, completely. To stop resisting the flow of life and instead become it. Have you ever tried to control everything, only to feel more and more exhausted, anxious, and empty? That's because control is an illusion that drains your soul. But when you surrender, truly surrender, a miracle happens. You begin to flow with life. You become a vessel, a channel. Inspiration flows through you. Opportunities arise effortlessly. You are guided, not by fear, but by intuition. This is where you become a living master, not because you control reality, but because you dance with it. Surrender brings peace, the kind of peace that cannot be disturbed because it's rooted in trust. But here's the paradox: the more you surrender, the more powerful you become. Not in the way the world defines power, but in the true sense. Power to heal, power to manifest, power to love unconditionally. This is the power of oneness, the realization that you and the divine are not separate. That life is not happening to you, it's happening through you. This is the highest spiritual truth, and the chosen one must embody it, not just know it intellectually, but live it. So now I ask you, what are you still trying to control? Your future? Your relationships? Your image? Can you let it go? Can you trust that what is meant for you will never pass you by? This is the ultimate test. Because once you surrender fully, you step into grace. You no longer fight life. You flow with it. You become one with it. At this point, something extraordinary happens. The wars don't end, but you stop seeing them as wars. You start to see them as initiations, as gifts. Challenges become opportunities. Pain becomes alchemy. Struggle becomes growth. You realize that every war was designed to awaken you, to forge you, to prepare you to serve. Because the chosen one is not chosen for their own sake, they are chosen to awaken others, to shine a light in the darkness, to be a living reminder that divinity walks in human form. You become a living master, not because you have all the answers, but because you have become the question. You live in awe, in wonder, in presence. You are no longer chasing enlightenment, you are embodying it. And from this space, your very presence heals, inspires, uplifts. People feel your energy before you even speak. They sense the peace, the clarity, the depth. You don't need to convince or preach, you simply are. And this is the final gift of the Ascension fire. You realize that you were never alone. That every war, every heartbreak, every moment of despair was a setup, not a setback, a setup for your awakening. The divine was with you all along, in every breath, every tear. And now you walk not as a seeker, but as a beacon. Not as a victim of life, but as a co-creator. So I leave you with this question: are you ready to stop surviving and start awakening? Are you ready to stop fighting life and start dancing with it? Because the Ascension fire is not for the faint of heart, but it is the path to everything your soul has ever longed for. You are the chosen one, not by chance, but by destiny. And the world is waiting for you to rise. Not someday, not when you feel ready. Now.